It is
Oh,
Wednesday,
hey,
my dudes.
it
It's
is.
Do you
Wednesday.
know that meme? Either of you?
Ah,
The
ah.
the frog. I think frog. Right. Right. Nate.
I
Isn't it a
I don't
frog?
know his name. I've only ever seen the Vine video of
Okay.
it.
There's a meme. I think it's a frog. It is Wednesday, my dudes. But it's Wednesday, my
Oh
dudes,
man.
and that is the day of the week that we get together. We drink some beer. We talk about beer. We have a good time. That's the intentions. Hump day. Make it through Hump day. And here we are. Nate, how are you doing? What's your shirt, Nate?
Tripping animals. Stay
Okay.
trippy.
Stay trippy. All right.
Yep.
All right. Good stuff. How the heck are you today?
I'm doing well, man. I just opened up a exciting beer for the beers of the week
Okay.
that all three of us actually got our hands on. So I am very excited
Oh
to.
yeah, the featured beer. Did you know what? I actually, Nate, if you get a chance when we get rolling, get us some stats on that one because I want to do that as like a featured, like dive in a little deeper than we normally do since we're all drinking it. And you can put it on the run of the show just past the beers of the week, and we'll get to that. So, Brian, how are you?
I'm doing good. I am glad to be here. Have been the whole week has been building up to this point. So yes,
Some people wait a lifetime for a moment like
that's
this.
right.
Yeah,
I don't know who those people are. I do it every week. So
every week. I do it every week. Brian, have you eaten any good tins lately?
yes, I had the Minerva, I think it's mackerel with in oil with I think it's like spicy oil with pickle or something like that.
Okay.
It had a
Okay.
little red pepper in it and had a little pickle in it. And it was really good. I'm a
All
fan of
right.
mackerel, good meaty fish, nice subtle heat, good oil. Was good on a cracker. I had it with a little mustard. It was quite nice, but honestly, by
Good.
itself was really good. So
Yeah.
recommend that Minerva mackerel with spicy mackerel or mackerel and spicy oil with pickle. Definitely recommend that people trying that if you're into tins of seafood.
If you like the tins.
Yes.
I have something in the works for tins. I've purchased a couple of domains.
Oh,
And yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
I have ideas because I'm really enjoying this, and so I want to do a little more with it, and we'll see what we can do there.
At,
So
as a reminder to myself and also to give my wife a heads up on well, she buys tins because
yeah,
she's been using tins of fish in cooking for a long time, either anchovies or sardines. Mostly anchovies is kind of like a little bit of a salty garnish to some dishes. But I've been cutting out the tops of the artwork on ones that you
oh
can do
yeah,
that on,
yeah.
and I've actually been sticking them to the fridge. So I've got the Minerva has gotten cut out and stuck on the fridge.
Is
So
that
as a
your
reminder,
shopping list? Basically,
kind
is
yeah,
that
kind of.
so?
Also, it kind
These
of looks like a sticker. The art's kind of neat, so it's kind
okay?
of a fun reminder of ones I've enjoyed. I've got the Matif or the
My teeth,
Matiz,
sure,
the piri
yeah,
piri sardines, which I like. That's been hit or miss. I've had some that are like, oh my god, this is great, and some that are just okay. So there's
okay.
something kind of finicky about chili peppers, I guess, when they go into the tins. So
Some
some
of them
things that are
are
yeah
some are
supposed to be
super
spicy.
mild and don't have much, and then other times they are that. But talking about the tin art, I love that anything that has a craft component to it is the way I'm going to word it. Like cigars, you've got your gas station cigars, you have premium cigars, and they put a lot of work into the box art and the bands and everything. And then you look at craft beer. Of course, there's awards and stuff that they do for label art and can art. And same with tin seafood, Brian. There's a lot of those that have really attractive packaging. There's a brand called Jose Gourmet that does like all of their packages have kind of a little cartoonish kind of figure, like realistic looking cartoon. Those are really nice. I get these ones. It's Sardina, which I think is just Spanish or maybe Portuguese for sardine, Sardinha, but that's also the brand name. And they've got these little sardine caricature things, like the ones that are boneless and skinless. It's like a naked sardine standing on the can with censored bars across
Oh
their
yeah.
private their nether regions there. So anyhow, those, and I've seen people collecting all of the art and talking about doing some kind of collage coffee table or something like that. But having some fun with it. But Brian, I also had a couple nice tins this week.
Oh, did
And
you?
I had from the brand Nuri, 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 for those. I know that we probably got a lot of people who have no idea what we're talking about, but I had their spiced mackerel. and it's a whole small mackerel, which are very good. And then it had olive oil with, I think it's kind of standard fare when it comes from like Spain or Portugal, and it's just called spiced. There's a single slice of pickle, a peri peri pepper, usually a couple, maybe cloves, and like a bay leaf. I think is kind of standard fare there, but those are really good. And from Patagonia, who make Tin Seafoods as well as like backpacking gear, Brian, interestingly enough. But I had their white anchovies with olive and lemon, and that was really good. So
I can
we
imagine
should
that
sit
being
down
good.
sometime and we should do a tins and beers pairing. Like I've done it myself, but we should sit down and see exactly what goes with it. Have a good time with it. Nate can
I'd,
join in. We'll force him to eat some fish.
I'd like
Sure,
to
Check
see
it
a
that
out.
spread.
sounds unpleasant.
I'd like a
Yeah.
flight of tins, because the thing
Flight of
is they
tins,
don't
yeah.
look very large, but after you get through to the end of one, they're quite sasatisfying. They're
They are. I mean, it's
misleadingly
solid protein, some fats and stuff, and you got proteins and fats, and you bring your omega-3s and just have a good time with it. But yeah. So anyhow, we got some beers to drink and talk about, so let's jump right into it, y'all. Feel free to leave a comment and chat with us. We would much appreciate it. Here we go, guys. Welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us. We are very happy to have you here, and we're happy to be here. We're getting into some beers. We've pre-gamed a little bit. In the pre-show, Brian, we probably drove a few people off if you were watching the live show. The streaming of the live show before we came into the podcast, we kind of dominated with 10 seafood talk. So
yeah.
we'll not do that here in the show. But if you're interested in that kind of thing, go check out the live stream. Drop us a note because we're really enjoying that right now. But we are here. I am Tim Dennis, Mo Mike, Nate. How you doing?
Doing well, man. I always say this every week, I feel like, but I'm surprised it's already been a week. It feels like
It just flies by, man.
it just
Time.
flies by, yeah. But I'm happy to be here.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Brian, how are you? Brian Hewitt.
I am good. I am good. Yeah, time seems to be accelerating. I started a new job recently. That kind of thing slows down time a lot. It's starting to pick back up, and I can feel it, because it does seem like just the other day that we were just here. So yeah, but I'm good. We've got a lot to talk about this week. We've got a new discovery in yeast evolution. We've got a controversy about beer labels in the Northeast. We've got a political party that's just about beer and for beer lovers, and it's doing surprisingly well. And yeah, we've got a lot more beyond that. So that's where we're at, Tim. I'm doing great. I'm ready to go. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. You know what, Brian? Let's cross the streams here, Brian. As we like our 10 seafood and our beers. We found out there's a new hop out there. I think it's new. I'll just say that this is the first time that I've heard about it. But from Yakima, I think it's Yakima Chief, right? Or is it Yakima Valley?
Yakima Valley, I think, is the one.
But anchovy hops, Brian. Anchovy hops. Now, there's no fish flavor. There's no anchovy flavor in these, but tell us about anchovy hops.
Yeah, so it's got a controversial name. I guess people aren't maybe in favor of this name for hop for maybe obvious reasons, but it was named by Fast Fashion Brewing in Seattle. And part of the reason they got to name it is they sponsored the acreage that grew that particular hop. And they've been the only brewery that has put out a beer with them. I think that you can buy them as a home brewer, but I don't think any other professional brewers have made beers with them yet. It is being described as having flavors like watermelon, hard candy, raspberry, and pine. And that sounds interesting to me. I would definitely try that. I might even like that. I think that might be a polarizing thing based on our little informal survey of people we know. But
Yeah.
Tim, would you drink something like that?
I would, Brian. And to be honest, the raspberry and pine to me sound like they could be good together in the right balance. The watermelon candy, if it's part of the party, let's see how it does. But raspberry and pine sounds good to me. Brian, I like the name because I think it's cool again to bring my love of 10 seafood and beer together. But I think it's 1 foot in the grave for the hop to name it anchovy hops. We know we've seen over the years how people are influenced by names, whether it's the style name, whether it's the beer name. And I think anchovy will have these subconscious impact of keeping people away from that hop.
You know, some people will say they'll taste it and like, oh man, I can kind of taste
I
fishiness
get
in
that.
this.
Ooh,
So
ooh.
you know what? This may be a bad a bad call
Yeah.
on their part, but I don't know. I mean, it is fast fashion. Maybe I don't know. It may be quirky enough that people get into it. I don't know.
We need to get a beer made with that and pair it with some Bocarones, Brian, and sit down and have us a nice little appetizer of anchovies and anchovy. So let's see how it
I'm
goes.
I'm just wondering if the fast fashion guys are tin seafood fans like we are,
Right.
and maybe they'll come out. We'll sponsor another one, call it sardine or
We're gonna
mackerel or
have to
something like
dig. We're
that.
gonna have to dig into this and see why they chose to
Yeah,
call it anchovy.
see
Yeah,
if we can find
definitely.
out. Yeah.
That'd be fun. Very good stuff, Brian. Big news. Uh, theft, Brian. Theft. And a couple years ago here in Atlanta, Sweetwater Brewing had 2 truckloads of beer stolen. And at the time, everybody was like, "Wow, that's crazy. How do you get away with 2 truckloads?" Yet, Brian. Yet, Twisted Tea one upped or like 15 upped them on this, right?
Yes. Yeah, they had 17 or 18 truckloads of their Twisted Tea, and that's semi truckloads of Twisted Tea stolen. That is 32,000 cases of Twisted Tea, or about $800,000 worth of product. It was all stolen from a single distribution center in Memphis, Tennessee. And the crazy thing is the stolen product was scanned and marked as delivered to the destination. So there's paperwork saying that it was delivered when apparently it was not. And apparently nobody saw anything. So there's a lot of speculation to what it might be the cause of it, who might be behind it. I did a little Googling to see if there'd been any updates in the day or two since we first saw it. Is nothing. It's an ongoing
Nothing
investigation.
new. Crazy.
I suspect it's got to be organized crime. I figure you got to have you have to have people able to swap out basically trailers full of stuff on the fly as it's moving. You know, you intercept a truck at a truck stop, you swap out the trailer, you drive to the location, you mark it as delivered, and you go back, and nobody's the wiser. I'm thinking definitely.
That just
I'm
seems
thinking,
like
organized crime with an inside connection. That's what I'm figuring.
for Twisted Tea.
For $800,000 worth of Twisted Tea.
Well,
Dude?
I could have $800,000 worth of pocket lint. That doesn't mean it's a good idea to acquire it. You know,
That
so
you know what?
that was what I'm thinking. I mean, if you're taking that much, you'd think that they would think they could move it, but
Yes.
I don't know. So, Brian, a little interesting insight. So, I lived in that area many years ago, and Memphis and just outside of Memphis in Mississippi, there's a ton of distribution centers there. Like it's a distribution center hub. There's a place called Olive Branch, Mississippi, just outside of Memphis, and it's just loaded with distribution centers because interstates 55 and 40 cross in Memphis. So you have both your north, south, and your east, west, arteries there to the interstate system. So a lot of stuff goes through that area. And sometimes, these distribution centers, they're just in huge industrial parks of nothingness in Podunk, Mississippi, or just out or Podunk, Memphis there. And but I can't wrap my brain around taking 17 truckloads, because when you look at like the mafia talking about organized crime, they'd knock over a truckload of cigarettes, but they'd take it and you can unload a truck. You can pass on and sell on a truckload of cigarettes, but how in the world do you move 17 truckloads of Twisted Tea? I feel this would have to be an illegal export or something.
I mean,
I don't know. If you're listening and you're part of the people that stole this, please send us an anonymous email and tell us what you did with it, because I want to know.
I wouldn't be surprised if it were a mix of things, and illegal export's possible. But you know that whoever's picking it up is going to get a cut of it, and I'm guessing that you could sit on that stock and continue to sell it to at a discount to disreputable clubs and bars and bodegas and whoever else. And I don't know that it stays in that area. I think you wholesale it to other people who are fine with reselling it. So I mean, it's not inconceivable that gets put back into the system at some level, into the same place it came from, but somebody kind of moves it in there on the sly and collects a lot of money in the process,
Or maybe it was one dude and he's like, I could take this. No one would notice if I took this truck. And he takes it and he comes back and he's like, there's still no one here, man. I could probably take another one. And then it just kept snowballing until he's like, oh my God, I have 17 trucks of Twisted Tea. What am I going to do with this? He probably lives in an apartment complex somewhere and there's 17 trucks parked out there. They're like, what? He's like, oh my God, someone's going to notice this.
Now, they did say truckloads of Twisted Tea, not trucks with Twisted Tea. So my guess is they are not, the trucks themselves didn't go missing, or I think.
Oh yeah, I'm aware of that.
Quickly.
When I say trucks, I'm talking about I should say trailer. I'm sorry, Brian. I didn't mean. I know you're big into trucking terminology, and I'm sorry that I used the incorrect terms. I meant the trailers or the truck loads.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah. I didn't think he was stealing 17 semi or 17 trucks.
Yeah,
so,
17 trailers, please. Let's get this
yeah,
right.
Yeah. But however you look at it, whatever they've done with it, I'm curious to see how this one pans out because, man, that is a lot of Twisted Tea. So, Smalls like Twisted Tea. Maybe we should talk to her and see. You know what? She gave some fishy story about being in Bermuda this week.
Oh,
yeah.
Exports.
All right.
Maybe
Sorry.
Bermuda's a big fan of Twisted Tea.
We should probably stop talking about this.
Yeah, at least until we find out if she's cutting us in on the deal.
Right.
If she's not, then we can
she
totally
is now.
keep talking about it. Yeah.
So yeah. Brian, interesting article came out, and I don't think this is necessarily breaking news. I think this is something people have dabbled in for a long time. But the article, and this comes from the dailymail.com, is about hot sauce in beer, Brian. And they said something about, they're calling it upgrading your cheap beer by adding a few shakes of a hot sauce. They say that a milder sauce is better for this, Brian. Maybe like a Frank's or a Red Hot, a Tabasco, or your classic Cholula, and throw a little salt and lime in there. Brian, they're getting real close to my Midwest Michelada here with what
they really are.
But yeah, a little seasoned salt, lime wedge, garnish it up, your milder hot sauce. Have you ever, Brian, taken a beer and just put some hot sauce in it?
I did after seeing this shortly. A short time ago, I shaked a little Frank's Red Hot into a lingering Summerfest that I have from Sierra Nevada, and I only poured off a little of it just because I didn't want to ruin the whole thing. It was kind of Michelada-ish to me, like a mild Michelada. It was fine, and the less is better in that case because I wanted some of the beer to shine through because it's a good beer, and a little Michelada. It was actually not bad, but I didn't get the excitement I expected from it, and I also wonder if Frank's Red Hot might even be too much for this particular situation. Unless you want it to be a Michelada,
I tell you what,
it's fine.
our friends at Three Taverns, Brian, shout out to Three Taverns. 10 years, man. They're celebrating 10 years this coming weekend, their 10th anniversary. We're going to go out there and party with them. We have known the Three Taverns crew, Brian, since before the brewery officially launched. Like, it's the days of, hey, check these out, guys. We got a brewery that's going to be opening up. Brian Purcell is a good friend. We always enjoy hanging out with him. And Joran van Genderachter, who was the original brewer at Three Taverns, who came over here from Belgium and is now one of the owners, along with his buddy Sean, of Halfway Crooks. So there's a little of the chronology, and Halfway Crooks and Three Taverns have a collaboration beer. So looking forward to that. But my point there, Brian, is I've got some beeps in my beer fridge, and I've got some hot sauces here. So maybe I'll do a little experimentation. I don't have any lime wedges, but I've got salt in one of those plastic lemons. So, maybe I can do a little something here.
That's a really good idea. Yeah.
Nate, how about you? Nate, what are your thoughts on hot sauce in general? I'm not sure if you're a spice guy.
I think my acid reflux likes to disagree with hot sauce in general, so I'm not a spice guy. As far as this concept of adding, increasing the flavor in your cheap macro or upgrading it, I mean, I don't see why not. We added Aperol and lemon juice to our cheap to the champagne of beers to create that spaghetti over the summer. So this, I think, is a very valid way to go about it. And if it's a less messy, less ingredient way to get you a Michelada, then go for it.
Can I propose that we change the name of the spaghetti to the Midwest Mimosa?
Absolutely, I love that.
You're adding stuff to your beer there.
With that.
So the Midwest Mimosa. But so they've got this. There's also, Brian, some places that love to play this up. Like you can go to a place and get a loaded Tecate, which is Tecate, hot sauce, lime, and salt. And New York, wait, okay, I don't know this. New York's Mother's Ruin. What is that, Brian?
It's a bar in New York
That's
City.
a bar.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
kind of like a
Okay.
signature drink
Gotcha.
of theirs. Yeah.
Yep. And in Chicago, you can get addressed hams, or you used to be able to get addressed hams, which was a can of Hams beer dipped in Valentina hot sauce, rimmed with a salt, sugar, paprika mixture, and then served with a lime wedge. This
Yeah,
was
that's
at
right.
Chicago's Pub
Fancy.
Royale.
Yeah.
And
R.I.P. Pub Royale.
yeah, that is nuts, Brian. So salt, sugar, and paprika. Valentina is my favorite Mexican hot sauce because I do have different hot sauces for different things, and that's definitely my preference for a Mexican hot sauce.
If you ever saw the can, it was dipped.
Oozing.
It was oozing down the side of the can. I definitely would have liked to have tried that. And apparently they were. I think that it was said that they were the number one like on-premise seller of hams or something like that.
Okay.
And the majority of their hams was sold dressed. So that means a huge percentage of all the hams in States was being served with hot sauce. And I don't think anybody realized it, but unfortunately that's no longer the case. The pub closed down.
Interesting. That looked messy.
Oh yeah.
It looks super messy. I just don't see a way to consume that where it doesn't just get all over the place. But I think that's probably part of the appeal of it there, to be quite honest.
It's a feature, not a bug, even though it seems like the opposite.
Yeah, but that's fun. You know what? I am going to grab a beeps here in a minute, and we're going to see what we can do here. But Brian, lots of brewery closures. It's just kept on, and kind of a big one this year. So Ecliptic Brewing, the brand is going to live on, but they are closing the pub and restaurant. Is that right?
That is correct. John Harris has sold the brand and has closed the brewery down. And people have been talking about it because he's a legendary brewer. He's been around on the scene for a very long time. He started brewing at McMiniman's in Portland, Oregon. McMiniman's, I love that place. It's a legendary establishment, a fixture in Portland, Oregon. He started brewing there in 1980. And then he was a founding brewer at Deschutes in 1988. He was credited with the original recipes for Black Butte Porter, Mirror Pond, two of my favorites, Jubilee and Obsidian Stout. And then he brewed for 20 years at Full Sail before he opened Ecliptic back in 2013. So the entire property, or all the rights and the beers and everything, were sold to Great Frontier Holdings. It's a collective including Ninkasi and Hard Ashland Cider and a bunch of other beverage companies. But as you said, it will live on, and he will be involved in making the beer and brand development and any kind of innovations under that name. But you will no longer be able to go to a tap room that's an Ecliptic tap room, at least not for the foreseeable future. Maybe they'll open up one in the future. Oh, you got your Red Hot over there, and you've got your Beeps.
A little Franks and Beeps here, Brian. So Franks and Beeps.
The way a lot of people talk about doing that is instead of trying to get it in the actual hole, they just spill it all over the can. So super messy. You don't want to do that, though.
I got most of it into the opening of the can. So some of it is on the top. I'm just gonna have to deal with it, Brian.
We're talking about just swimming in hot sauce. So you basically drink the beer through the hot sauce. So your mic may never be the same. But the nice thing is it will smell like Frank's Red Hot, like for eternity, probably.
That's right. Bring some fragrance to the show there. So, but yeah, Brian, sad there about Ecliptic. We're just seeing it so much. I mean, just left and right. We had, another closure in Georgia last week, and just seeing them, they're going to keep coming. Unfortunately, even brewers that we know and seem to be doing well. Everybody's struggling right now, or most people are struggling. So it's tough out there.
It is crazy to think of some of these people getting big national press, winning big awards, and still like the economics of the situation just don't work for them for one reason or another. And you know what? It's hard to fight the economics when they're stacked against you. There's not much you can do. So
there was a discussion on Facebook today in one of the brewers groups there, for brewers starting up, and someone is like, hey, I'm about to open a brewery. What size brew house should I go to? And one of the more popular comments was, well, if you're opening a brewery, you kind of should already know that, what size brew house you need. But another piece of advice is buy the biggest that you can afford. And there were a lot of people that liked the post and agreed with that. And I was thinking, no, that's not really great advice anymore. That may have been 10 years ago good advice, but some other person did chime in and say, no, don't buy the biggest you can afford. I mean, there's a lot of people out there right now with brew houses for sale because they bought a 20 barrel because that's what they could get at the time. And that's just not the way, that's not the formula anymore. You know, it's not a distribution game anymore. So there's a lot of advice saying, 5 to 7, the minimum of 5 to 7. And I think probably for most people, that's probably a good place to start. Get enough. That's enough to where you can take care of, your local customers and that. See how it goes from there rather than getting a massive spot with a 20 barrel brew house out of the gate.
Yeah, you're in a it's better to be selling everything you can possibly produce and then needing more to sell than being in a spot where you can't sell everything you produce and being stuck with some left over. Like you always want to be the demand higher than what you can supply. That just works out better. So I think once upon a time where you could just throw a dart at the wall with any kind of beer idea or brewery idea and have a smash hit. Those days are gone. So you can't plan for the insane crowds coming to you. It's a very it's a mature industry, so you have to be really on your game and really, really have your stuff dialed in, and that's hard to do just starting out with new equipment and new everything.
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm. And you're not, again, you want to dial it in for your neighborhood, not for distribution, so
correct.
Get something that can produce. I tell you what, if you got a neighborhood that can drink the whatever you can pump out of a 20 barrel brew house, and power to you. That just doesn't seem, quite the way it's going to go there.
Yeah. Unless you've got a lot of money and you're not too concerned about what the bills are going to cost.
Right.
For a long
exactly.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got money to throw it away. It's your money, do what you want. Guys, would you like my review of my Beeps and Franks?
I've been waiting anxiously too.
First of all, my lips are numb now. So my lips are a little tingly because, again, a lot of the sauce got on the top of the can. So a lot of it has just been much like a head-on headache thing. I've applied it directly to my lips here.
Very nice.
But you know what? So here's the deal, man. It adds a little flavor, but really a few dashes of it does not bring a ton of heat. And with the Beeps, this may be, if you're using a macro lager, like a Bud Light, Miller Lite or something, you may not have the flavor there, but Beeps does have a little flavor, and that is definitely still coming through. So I still have a really nice, drinking beer flavor with some Franks, and I dig this, Brian. I would do this again. I definitely would do this again. So if you guys have a bottle of hot sauce and a good old lager sitting around, go grab it and check it out. But I like this. I dig it.
I say we bring a 6-pack of it in a big bottle of Frank's hot sauce and try to get Brian Purcell to drink one and everybody else to drink one.
We should.
That would be great. See if he'll do that thing where he goes down on one knee and drinks it.
That's it. We'll get a new one
the Belgian single.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. We'll make him. You remember when putting chilies in beer was the thing?
Yeah.
Nate, were you around for that phase of craft beer? That may have been just before you. That may have been before your time, Youngblood.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. So you remember Stone, Crime and Punishment, Brian?
Oh yeah. Oh, Punishment is right. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Painful.
But I think around here, Jekyll has their
habanero
hop dang diggity that's still going around. Of course, Atlantucky has their Hambo Manganero or something along those lines, but they do a mango habanero beer because Skinny DeVille is a fan of the chili beers. Don Jalapeno, Brian, you remember the Don Jalapeno?
That was a quality beer.
No Label Brewing,
yeah,
which was just a jalapeno. I think just a basic ale, man, maybe a golden ale or something. So that one really delivered the pepper flavor big. But yeah, there was a moment there when. Was it an amber? Okay.
I think it was an amber. I think it was a jalapeno amber. And it was beautiful.
All right.
It was such a beautiful beer.
Yeah. There was a moment in time there where putting chilies and heat and stuff in your beer was the cool thing to do.
I think Monday Night's got a Blind Pirate. Was it a habanero or jalapeno?
Scotch
Blind
bonnet?
Pirate? Something like that. They had some sort of a hot pepper one that they did when everybody else was doing hot pepper stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it might still be limitedly available, like a little bit. But yeah, a lot of those things went away, like everything else that was kind of trendy for a minute. So like the white IPA just kind of disappeared.
The white IPA, I remember that. I'm curious, man, to see exactly, what it's. I think sometimes fads go away before you even realize. That's what we got here. We got one here for you, Rick Toby. Habanero Sculpin. Remember that? I do
Yes.
remember that.
Yeah,
Habanero
yeah.
Sculpin. Yep, that was another one. I remember when that hit Georgia, and I think it was $14 or $15 a 6-pack.
Oh my God.
And
yeah.
I believe that was the first beer in Georgia to hit those like $15 price points, and people were just losing their minds over it, but they still bought it.
They were really, really popular back then. And then I don't know what happened. Everybody else got to be as good, or things shifted and it just stopped. It kind of disappeared. I'm like,
it changed up.
It was everywhere for a minute, and you looked around, then it was nowhere. And yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
miss
I
those
remember
days.
when Sculpin first hit the scene and that $13.99 6-pack. A lot of people were really shocked about how pricey it was, and then very quickly we stopped being shocked about it.
Now people are paying $10 or more for some tall boys, so
For a
they
single,
don't care.
yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
But I'm gonna keep sipping my chili beeps over here, which this is tastier than I expected. I enjoy this. This is nice. I'll do it again. But to move on, Brian, you love bringing us weird stories.
Oh, I do.
And you know what? I'm going to read your headline and then I'm going to shut up. It's a weird story of a beetle with a bottle opener shaped junk.
That's right. So it's a beetle that was rediscovered after being lost in Denmark's Natural History Museum for decades. It was originally collected in South America, and its male reproductive organ is shaped like a bottle opener. So naturally, it's in Denmark. They named the beetle after Carlsberg. It's called Lonchovilius carlsbergi. So, they have already produced some sort of a steel replica of the genitalia
as a bottle opener.
Yeah, and they're working on actually production like an actual for sale bottle opener based on this bug's junk, effectively. And they want to do that to promote interest in bugs, or as they would probably say, entomology. So that's going to be a thing.
Did they dive any into why exactly this bug had bottle opener shaped junk?
So,
I mean, of course it has to be a reproduction thing, right?
Yes. So here's the thing. They don't know exactly why. A lot of beetles apparently develop different genitalia in different shapes. The oddity of the shape enforces that the mating can only happen between the correct species. So because it's like a lock and key, that's only going to fit certain beetles. So they can't breed in other ways. So it's something having to do with,
is Mother Nature kink shaming beetles?
Well, apparently not. I mean, it's not like she's hiding it behind a veil or anything.
But she's making it where they can only pair with the certain lock and key there.
Well, I guess I guess in certain ways. I mean,
I feel bad.
She's not stopping them from getting creative in other ways. I don't know how beetles would do that, but whatever, But so procreation can only happen between beetles that match up physiologically and structurally. So
okay,
all right, a weird thing. I guess there's a lot of it. There's a lot of different shapes. Yeah.
All right. A lot of different shapes. There's
a lot of them, apparently.
Okay. Interesting stuff, man. Well, Brian, moving on to our beers of the week, and we do want to thank our friends at the Nest for sponsoring this segment. We took a trip to the Nest this week, and we had nachos, and we had pulled pork, and we had some ribs and wings. Of course, we had to. So it was a cool day. And they did have their heaters blow on the patio where it would have been comfortable. We decided to set in the bar area, which is closer to the tap wall. So it was a strategic move. But yeah, good times there. The whole squad got together, except for Becky because of her excuse, something about Bermuda or family or something there.
Twisted tea, something or other.
We don't know.
Yeah. But a good time at the Nest. Good food there. Go visit them. Tell them the beer guy sent you. The Nest in Kennesaw, Georgia. All right, y'all, we've got some good beers, and we're going to talk about our featured beer it's not common we all have the same beer, but we do this week. We plan this one out, but we have Sierra Nevada Celebration. That will probably be part of the Wednesday festivities, the show festivities for a while now. From Parish Brewing, our featured beer, which we will dive into more, is Holy Ghost, which is a triple Northeast IPA. From Allagash, we have Gatherwell, which is a BBA Imperial Stout. We also have from Parish Brewing, Nate sipped on a little Ghost in the Machine, the cousin, sister, brother, something to our Holy Ghost here, and another parish. Nate's going all parish today. It's all about parish, but I think Rev or Reve coffee stout. I think the E's got a little dash over it, doesn't it?
Does.
So Reve coffee stout, and I know we got an explanation of that, of the name and everything when Parish was on the show, but I forget at this time. And then of course, a little Beeps with some Frank's Red Hot in it is on the agenda.
Of course.
Yeah. So, guys, our featured beer that we are all sipping on is the Parish Holy Ghost, and this just hit Atlanta recently. It is this is a collaboration. Who's the other brewery they collaborated with? Brian.
That is a good question.
Notes here.
Didn't realize
but this is a collaboration brew. It is a triple high IPA brewed thick with oodles of oats and raw wheat and completely dry hopped to saturation with equal amounts of Nelson Sauvin, Galaxy, and Citra Cryo. Holy Ghost is a mind-melting 10% ABV. So, according to Beer Advocate, it is the fourth highest rated beer made in Louisiana with a 4.41. And these are currently on My Beer Collectibles, which is a website that claims they're selling collectible cans, but really it's you can find things on there. But that's going for $100 for 8 of these.
Oh,
on
wow.
My Beer Collectibles right now. So, Nate, did you find who the collaborator was here, man?
I don't see anywhere that it is a collaboration.
Is it not? Yeah. Maybe I misread that. Is it not? Okay.
I think you were incorrect. The can, which is a cool can, and it has
nothing on there about collaboration.
No, there's nothing on there, and also has that laser. You remember the old National Geographic cover that had like the laser etch thing where you could switch it around?
Yes, I do.
It's got some of that laser built into the can itself. Like when you look at it, you can see little rainbow diffractions or something like that. It's kind of neat. But
prism or what? I forget.
Like like a prism or something like that.
There's a term for this, and I'm forgetting. But you know what? I hadn't noticed that the label was like that until you mentioned it. But it looks like there's depth to it that isn't really there. Like
exactly, it rotated in different angles, and you'll get like little rainbows flying around, little artifacts and things like that. And it all shows up like it's behind the artwork on there, which is really cool. They spent some money and some time on this, but yeah, I don't see any indication of this being a collaboration. I think it's just a cool, very sexy beer can, a very cool beer inside of it. So
good stuff.
Yeah.
Brian, what do you think of the Holy Ghost? Do you feel spiritual when you're taking in the Holy Ghost?
I filled with the Holy Ghost.
Yes.
It's big, it's boozy, it's got a little bite to it. It's quite tasty. I enjoy it. I'm glad I found it. Would I pay $100 for 8 of them? I would not do that, but I wouldn't mind getting more of them. I don't think it's different or better enough from other things out in the market to justify what the hype around that used to be, so that's the nice thing is we've got options, which is part of the reason it's hard to build that kind of hype. But this is a very good beer. I like this a good amount. Yeah.
Now, Nate, you started off with Ghost, and then you got the Holy Ghost. So first, what do you think of Holy Ghost?
I'm just grateful that I was able to find this beer. From what I saw online, this is one of a couple websites said this is one of the highest sought after beers in the country.
Yes.
Because of how limited the production runs are and their distribution footprint. So I'm excited to even just have it in my mouth. And
I'm just happy to be here. What? Come on, freak.
I really enjoy it. It's a really tasty beer. And considering it's a New England IPA, it's really soft, pillowy. And then that triple IPA booze just really comes through nicely. It's not overly malty, but it's not, doesn't have like that really big hop bitterness. I think it's really well balanced.
Cool, man. And how does it compare to Ghost in the Machine?
I think this is, while a great beer, I like that Ghost in the Machine I can get practically every day of the week. I think
that's not the point here, Nate. We're not talking about availability. We compare beer to beer here.
Okay.
Not availability. What do you think of the Ghost compared to the Holy Ghost?
Put
If
him on the
everything
spot.
else being equal, these are both on the table. What do you think?
I would drink Holy Ghost every day of the week.
Okay, and what's the differences there? Well, what do you think Holy Ghost brings to the party that the regular Ghost does not?
I think because they specifically name using oats in Holy Ghost, whereas Ghost of the Machine they don't. That oat addition to the flavor and to the mouthfeel, I think, makes it a better beer.
Cool, gotcha.
I definitely have thoughts here, having had both in my recollection. This has a more densely syrupy, resiny, like oozy, viscous something to it that is not there in the Holy Ghost, and I do like that.
Not
a
there
fair
in the
amount.
Ghost in the Machine.
I don't. Yes, the ghost in the machine. So this has that like boozy, syrupy, dank, or not. Yeah, it's neat. I like that a lot. And it's not.
neat.
I don't think it's
Is that your review?
neat. Yes, I find it to be quite
Okay,
neat.
it's
So
neat. It's neat.
I'm a fan of it. I would definitely enjoy drinking this anytime I can get a hold of it. Obviously, you can't all the time. The other one's a fine beer. I just like the intensity of this, and maybe it's because
Okay.
I've been drinking, double IPAs for so long they don't seem as intense as they once did, and this is that next level up. So I guess we're all about intensity these days, or I am. So I
Intense.
like that.
Well,
Yeah.
here's my dos centavos on this, gentleman. So,
Okay.
and I'm going off memory. It's been a minute since I've had Ghost in the Machine, but I definitely think you have more body and mouthfeel in this one, which of course is to be expected. I feel this is bringing a lot more citrus to the party. I'm getting a lot more orange there, maybe some stone fruit in there as well. But then there is that piney resinous bitterness there, but that's very nicely balanced with the sweetness, malty sweetness, and fruitiness that I'm assuming is just all hop derived. And so I dig this a lot. It rides the lightning for me in terms of bitterness and what I like, but having the bigger body, mouthfeel, and sweetness there really helps to get that. And for me, this is a winner. I think this is neat, Brian. This is a very neat beer.
You also think it's neat?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's great. There's a moment when I'm drinking it every single time where there's like a dank syrup that just oozes out over the palate, and I just I love that. That's really good. So this is worthy of chasing down. I still don't think I would pay. Well, I know I would not pay $100 for
Yeah.
80 of them, but I do understand why some people would, because it's worthy of finding. So.
Okay.
It's nice to have
Good stuff.
hype beers again. I want beers out there that are worth chasing. So
Yeah,
this is one of
and
them.
I think, and also I would think that my definition of chaseable has probably changed over the years. There's
True.
not as many that I would chase, and quite honestly, a lot of the times we have stuff just available here that doesn't require the chase as much. Again, the Three Taverns anniversary that will be coming up very soon. There's beer. I can't wait to get that Halfway Crooks Three Taverns collab. That's one I would chase after. So the fact that I can go to the brewery and get it just makes it that much better. But yeah, for sure. Brian, I believe. Go ahead, Brian. I see you got something to say there.
I was just going to say, could you imagine if this dropped in like 2017, 2018?
Mines would be
how
law.
Insane everybody would go over as a 17.
Yeah.
Seems about the right time. Oh man.
It would be fun to go back when West Coast was at its peak, when the IBU wars were at its peak, and just drop like today's top rated Northeast IPA in there and see what happened, see what people had to say about it.
Let people blind taste it and get their opinion. It's like, what is this?
Yeah, exactly.
I will say it was kind of exciting. The store that I got this from, they got 5 cases in, and I actually called ahead and said, "Hey, I want a 4-pack of this. Can you hold me one?" And it was kind of exciting because I haven't seen a beer release in the last several years that I've actually been kind of nervous that I wouldn't be able to grab.
Look at us getting all excited for beer.
You dusted off the FOMO.
Crazy.
It's like it was all dusted on the shelf.
Where'd that
and you
FOMO
brought it back
go?
out. Oh, it's the FOMO.
I had it right. The FOMO was in our hearts all
along.
Guys. Good stuff. Brian, I would like to know about Truck and Tap.
Would you? All right. Well, it's been a little while since I've talked about one of my favorite games, Truck and Tap Roulette. So I figured to give it a spin this week. So I headed over to truckandtap.com, as you do when you're planning ahead like this. playing a little truck and tap roulette. I fired up the random number generator. It picked 2, and I'm going to the Duluth location because I'm going full random. I'm letting it pick my location first before I go any further. So Duluth is where I'm heading. Yeah, but what am I drinking once I get there? I've got 20 taps to choose from, and but I've got no analysis paralysis here. The random number generator says I'm drinking 6 Bridges Sour Continuum Pink Guava, and fate is smiling on me because I like that Sour Continuum Pink Guava. I've had it before. It's a fine beer. So what do I pair it with? Well, there's a Cuban food truck on the site today, and the options look good, but I'm not choosing. I let the random number generator do it for me, and I'm eating a Cuban sandwich. And there you go. A fun beer and food combination that I probably wouldn't have come up with, and I would probably really enjoy. Of course, you don't have to play games to have a good time at Truck and Tap. You can head to their website, truckandtap.com, to see what's pouring at all 4 locations. Yes, Tim?
I'm just counting off locations. I'm just counting off locations over
there
here.
Are 4 of them.
Soon to be
5.
Yes.
Soon to be 5. But right now they've got Woodstock, Alpharetta, Duluth, and Lawrenceville. And of course, when you go there, let them know that the beer guys sent you. And you don't have to play Truck and Tap roulette if you don't want to. You can just go over. But you'd be cooler if you did. So
you'd be a lot cooler if you did. Brian, why do I find it hard to believe that you were totally random in choosing a Cuban sandwich and a Sour Continuum?
I swear that's exactly how it
this has never happened before.
So there was the Cuban sandwich. I saw that as a Cuban truck, and the first thing, I think the number 1 item was taco time, or is it taco time for Monday night? I'm like, well, okay. I hope I don't get that because that'll seem like this
is going to seem suspicious.
Yeah, it's going to seem suspicious. But then I picked the other one. I'm like, well, okay, here we go.
You know what?
I can't say anything about it. It's just the way it felt, Tim.
The random number gods were looking out for you. And Brian, as a little teaser, they are opening another location at the outlet malls up in Woodstock, Georgia. I think they're actually called the Outlets of Atlanta, or the Shops of Atlanta. But when you go shopping at the outlet malls up in Woodstock, Georgia, pretty soon, Truck and Tap's going to be there, man. So you got something to drink while you're out there hanging out. So
that'll be cool. You know what? My wife likes outlet malls, and I'm kind of with them, but I like beer.
There's beer there, Brian.
At outlet malls.
Absolutely.
So this is a definite win-win.
It's a win-win. Yeah. That's what I thought. I thought if someone's getting drug up there to do some shopping that they maybe don't want to do, at least there's going to be a Truck and Tap location there. So you'll make it all right. But Brian, sometimes you don't want to put that much thought into something. Even the thought of giving me a random number, sometimes that's just too much work,
Sometimes.
So fortunately, there's a lot of great places to go and a lot of great places that we love and support the show. So maybe you just want to say, you know what, today I'm going to the Battery Atlanta and I am going to go to Terrapin Brewery Atlanta. And you know what? You're sure to be pleased, Brian. They always have a great variety of beers on. There's always going to be classics there. You're going to go in, you're going to find you a Crunkles on tap there. You'll find the classics there. But as the kind of unofficial brew lab for Terrapin Brewery, all the new stuff comes out there as well. So they're constantly moving new beers through the system. Chad there's a good friend. He always keeps us up to date on the fun stuff coming. Mark is a great guy, always welcoming to us there. Fox Brothers Barbecue. So if you need a bite, and if you're going to have a few beers, you want a little something to eat, Fox Brothers is some of the best barbecue in the Atlanta area. If they've got them on the menu, and they don't always, but Brian, they have country fried ribs. Nate, have you had the country fried ribs?
I have not.
See, I didn't think Nate had been with us during one of those parties, but get you some country fried ribs. They're really good. Pulled pork, barbecue brisket, all of the barbecue classics there for you. Terrapin Brewery Atlanta at Truist Park, the Battery. Brian, you got something to say here.
I do. I like that their board of the beers that they have indicates who made it. Was it made on site at the brew lab, or was it made at Terrapin proper in Athens? And so you can compare. You can drink, I'm only going to have what they made here, or you can I'm only going to have what they made in Athens, or you can kind of go side by side with it and see which beer do I like more. So that's a fun little thing. I always do when I go there.
And you know what? The bartenders are always friendly. If you're like, hey, I want to try something new. What's the newest? What's your new one on there? What have you just tapped recently? They're going to tell you. They'll tell you a little bit about the beer, and you'll have a good time. So maybe that's the most adventurous you want to get. Maybe you don't want to think about random numbers, but you can. Maybe you can just go up to the bartender and say, give me a pint of whatever your newest on tap is. And maybe that's the same as playing roulette at Truck and Tap.
Maybe.
Yeah. So good times. Truck and Tap, Terrapin Brewery, Atlanta. We thank you for sponsoring Beer Guys Radio. Good stuff. Brian, what is up next? You got more beer news for us.
Yes, I do. I've got an interesting story. So we've got what apparently seems to be an unstoppable beer party in Austria. And by beer party, I mean a political party, an actual political party. But apparently it's on track to be the third largest political party in Austria by 2025 in terms of just actual population and people that are part of the party. The founder and party leader got an 8.3% of the vote in the 2022 Austrian presidential election, and that was third place. So in the population numbers, I think they're on ready to be like third place in terms of all political parties by 2025, just by pure numbers of people who are signing up, which is crazy. So it was founded back in 2015, and it has the following platform. It's a little tongue in cheek, a lot of it. The creation of a gastronomy network for better communication between restaurateurs and local politicians. A quote, long overdue banning of all mixed beer drinks like Radlers from public spaces. Like Radlers. The abolition of all mandatory closing times for bars and restaurants, which I could get behind. The abolition of taxes on drinks in bars and restaurants, which will be compensated for with a new 50% tax on Radlers and other, quote, atrocities. And they live by the motto, live and let live, except for Radler drinkers. So they do have a beef with Radler drinkers. In more recent years, because they're becoming a little bit more serious, the party has expanded its platform to include advocating for improved traffic infrastructure, health and child care changes, protecting the environment, and the backing of trans rights. This is not the first time a beer-themed political party has seen noteworthy success in politics. The now defunct Polish Beer Lovers Party won 16 seats in Poland's lower house in the 1991 elections. And every other indication that I've seen, all the other parties based on beer have not done nearly as well as these two. So it's really interesting to see what's going on, but they may really change things. I don't know.
It seems like the hate of Radlers is a very core concept of their party there.
Yeah, I didn't see an explanation to it, but they do not care for the mixing of juices with beer, and I don't know what that's about, and there was no explanation of it, but I find it pretty funny. I mean, every party has got to pick their demon or their foe, their arch nemesis, and I guess the Radler, and I think every other mixed beer drink out there, probably including the Michelada, would be on the enemies list. Mm-hmm. So I think that's
terrible.
Where we're at.
Terrible. You know, so here's the thing. If you don't like Radlers, don't drink Radlers. It's that simple. You don't like Micheladas, don't drink a Michelada. You don't like Bud Light, don't drink Bud Light. It's really that easy, y'all. It's that easy. No one is forcing you. Maybe someone is, maybe in your household. If they are, call the authorities because they shouldn't be doing that. That's not right. We don't support that either. But we do support drinking what you like. We had a buddy, Brian, back when we homebrewed a lot. One of our buddies in the neighborhood loved to come over and hang out with us on brew days. And brew days for us were brewing beer, bottle sharing with all of our friends, either firing up the grill or ordering some pizzas and just having a good time. And our buddy loved to come over and hang out and try the craft beers. But when he did come over, he always brought a 12-pack of Bud Light with him. And he said, you know what, guys, I love trying all your craft beers, but I just really enjoy hanging out on a Saturday with a cold Bud Light in my hand. Cool, dude. Totally fine, man. Totally fine. If that makes you happy, that's what it's about. Because you know what, Brian? He didn't hurt or impact any of us drinking his Bud Light. If he had turned that Bud Light into a Radler, it would not have impacted any of us, Brian.
I don't know. I might have had problems with that as Brian's
like, I would have punched him square in the mouth, man.
As a new member of the Austrian beer party, I have to think that's a little tongue in cheek, a little jokey. So but I don't know. Maybe they really hate it. I don't know.
Nate, you have decided that you've got hate in your soul. Hateful Nate. All right, are you
Of
with
course.
me so
Hateful
far?
Nate.
I'm with you. Yep.
You get to choose one beer that no one else can drink. What beer are you choosing? A style. We'll make it broad. We'll say a style or a brand. Is there a
Okay.
brand that you want to direct your Hateful Nate at, or a beer style?
Let's just keep it to a style. I don't
Okay.
wanna name names.
All right. That's
So a
respectable,
style of
Hateful
beer.
Nate.
Let's say wheat beers are prohibited. They can never be made, they can never be
Oh,
drank, and they will
wow.
never be consumed
You're
ever
so
again.
hateful.
Oh
You're
my
Yes.
so
goodness, can't
I
hateful.
believe
love to
it.
hate them.
Okay. All right. Fair, fair. Brian, same for you. You are Blackheart Brian.
Mm.
Ooh.
What are you banning, Blackheart Brian?
Any and there would be a parts per million type of thing. It would be any kind of a smoothie sour, any kind of smoothie, anything that is beyond a certain chunkage. Like if you actually pick seeds or something out of your teeth, if you get fiber, it's banned. It's just
If there's
banned.
pulp,
Yeah,
if there's
pulp.
pulp in the
Pulp,
beer,
Yep.
okay.
pulp free beer. Pulp free beer.
All right.
Anything with pulp is now it's illegal.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, as
So
terrible
Tyrannical Tim.
tyrannical, I like that
Tyrannical
one
Tim.
better, Nate. As tyrannical Tim, I'm gonna go for Brian's heart on this one a little bit, and maybe you a little bit too, Nate.
Okay.
No more smoked beers.
I knew you were
No.
going there. I
No,
knew
I'm
you were
good.
going there.
You're
I
good.
like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
will
So
co-chair that party.
Schlinkerla doesn't even exist anymore. There's just, you know what? I'm gonna go further. You can't smoke malts at all.
Okay.
Smoked
Yeah.
malt cannot exist.
Bye,
So,
Rosh beer.
or it
Sorry.
can't be. I'm gonna make my own Reinheitsgebot, but the only thing is gonna say you can never use a smoked malt in a beer. That's it. That's it. You can even use it in bread. You want to make some smoky bread?
Yeah.
A smoky rye, that sounds kind of good. That sounds kind of good.
Kind
But
of,
you're not
yeah.
going to have a smoked beer to go with it.
You can't get any more drafty kilt, I don't think. Don't they use a little smoked malt in that?
You know what? I don't know, but they'll have to figure it out because as you have
That
just
is
discovered, Tyrannical Tim has banned
That's
smoked
right.
malt.
Some workarounds.
So,
They'll start smoking hops, Tim. And like,
and then, is it Ron Cherry? Isn't that his name up at Switchback?
is there? I honestly I forget, but yes,
I think so.
perhaps.
Switchback. Nate's on the Google in there. He's going to help us out. He's always there for us.
He's now
I
your
feel
sworn enemy.
I feel bad about what I've done to him because he's a really nice guy. He's a really nice guy. But
Bill Cherry.
There, Bill.
Cherry.
Bill.
Yeah,
Bill
So,
Cherry, episode 266.
266, Switchback. Great episode, Brian. Lots of fun there. I actually enjoyed a couple of those beers, which is unfortunate since they'll never exist again. But
You've made them all illegal. You've put him out of business, Tim. Good job.
They're
Good
illegal.
job.
Sorry.
And his
Sorry,
beers were
Bill.
great.
You were a nice guy.
You even liked some of them.
I did. I feel sometimes you have to make sacrifices for the greater good, Brian. And that's where we are with smoked beers. Is like, yeah, you know what? Bill made a couple that I liked, and he sent us this really nice smoked beer tasting experience, Brian, with like information on the smoke levels and the malts and why they went these different levels. And it was really great. But Brian, I have to take that. I'm willing to suffer for what I believe in. And yeah, so it's just for the greater good that all smoked malts must go. Yeah, yeah. So take that,
man.
At least I didn't say like IPA, just in general.
Well,
I thought you were going to say West Coast IPA, honestly.
Oh,
you know what? It's died a little bit of a death on its own. I know they're coming back. I don't feel they're a big enough threat to civilized society at this time. So I don't.
Tim is all like, think of the children.
Yeah. They don't need smoked malts in their lives.
No, they don't.
I'm just really happy that the children will grow up in a world without smoked malt.
I suspect that you've enjoyed more West Coast IPAs than you've enjoyed smoked beers, so that's probably part of it too. Because overall, there have been some West Coastish IPAs.
Brian, you know what, man? I think that would probably be a close one. Now that I think of it, because I always try a West Coast IPA, just like I always try a smoked beer, because I'm willing to go, because there's certain foods that I don't generally like, but every now and then I really enjoy. Salmon is a good thing. Talking about that, I don't generally enjoy salmon, but I've had some salmon dishes, oddly enough, typically smoked salmon, that I enjoy. But yeah, Anyhow,
That's how we know you're wrong about all of your opinions.
never. I haven't been wrong, and I don't plan on starting. Absolutely. Well, Brian, yeast evolution. Interesting discovery there, correct?
Yeah. This is pretty cool stuff. So they have learned that yeast can make pretty dramatic changes as they evolve. The researchers at University of Wisconsin-Madison were studying wild yeast, Saccharomyces eubaeanus, which is a parent of Saccharomyces pasteurinalis, which I probably said wrong, but that's common lager yeast. So they chose this yeast because it had lost its ability to metabolize maltose, meaning that you could not make beer with it. And Tim, you're laughing. Do you want to share with the rest of us, or no? Shall I just carry on?
I muted myself because you just said pastor anus, and I just
did I say that pasteuranius? I don't know how it's actually
I
said
didn't
properly.
get over the way you said that, so I muted my mic up and was just laughing to myself over.
Okay, well, common lager yeast. Anyway, so through experimentation, that yeast, the eubaeanus, had lost its ability to metabolize maltose, meaning it could not make beer. Just refreshing everybody on that. The experimentation that they did was akin to selective breeding, so they were able to reintroduce the ability to that yeast to eat maltose and make beer. The genetic science that got a little intense, and what they expected was like what anybody that's a layman would expect. Well, they mutated a gene, right? No, what happened is they got a yeast that had lost half of their genetic material, and their paired chromosomes had lost half of the pairs. So they'd lost one. I guess apparently you have paired chromosomes, so you have two copies of all of your genes. They lost all the copies. They just had the one copy.
Okay,
of the
I
gene,
did see that, right?
which is really kind of crazy. So that makes them less like us as humans and more like reproductive stuff, like the sperm and the egg cell. Like those only have like one of the paired things.
They got to come together to make the pairs there.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that made me think that maybe these yeast are more likely to in some way pair with other yeast, but that was not covered in the thing. So apparently this discovery could have useful applications in medicine and biofuels and products and industries involving fungi, and perhaps maybe even beer production, because we've shown that we can turn some of these yeast strains back into beer producing yeasts even after they've lost it. So we have a lot of ability to perhaps have new fermentation styles, like beyond ale and lager, something else. I think maybe it'll all be categorized as wild or something like that. I don't know, but because they're all considered wild, but I guess at some point they'll be domesticated. So this sounds fun. It sounds interesting. I'm not sure what the beer applications will wind up being.
I think it's fun when they discover stuff like this and they're thinking ahead to what can we do with what we know now, what can we do in the future with it, because stuff we were hearing about 10 years ago is what's got us to like our GMO yeast that we see and some of the things they're doing with them now. So
sure.
And there's a lot of discoveries that they're like, okay, we know there's potential here. We just don't know where it's going to go, more experimentation and stuff. So it'll be fun to see where this all develops.
It really will be. And I want to say that I wonder if that's some of what happened. Yeah, I know there were stories about them finding interesting wild yeasts in South America in brewing beers with them, or working on getting them to a point of brewing beers. And I'm wondering if they did something similar, like just growing them up, because part of the selective brewing process was to put all of these guys who can't ferment maltose, just throwing them into grains and seeing who thrives, and taking those guys that thrive and then growing them up, doing the same thing until you've got a version of eubaeanus that actually can make beer again and do it well, apparently.
Sometimes I don't realize how fascinated I am with the science of this and the genetics and all of this stuff. It really is amazing, and when you sit down and think about it, it's just science is pretty dope. It's really neat, guys. So
science is very neat.
Science is neat. That is a fact. Awesome. Good stuff, guys. I think that about wraps it up for our episode this week. Y'all, we appreciate you hanging with us. We're going to take off next week for Thanksgiving. So we hope you all have a good week. We'll be back the week after that taking this little holiday break. We're going to eat a lot of food, drink a lot of beer, and have a good time. Y'all, if you enjoy what we do here, we would love it if you would support us on Patreon. We are at patreon.com/beer guys. We're going to get you in our Discord server to talk all kinds of crazy stuff with us. We'd love to get your input on new episodes and suggestions there. And we'll send you out some swag, have some good fun stuff. We've got some cool surprise swag coming up soon, too. So Smalls has been working on a project behind the scenes that is going to be super cool. But y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope that you have a great Thanksgiving. And you know what? While you're enjoying your Thanksgiving dinner, don't forget to drink local. Cheers. That was an intro, not an outro. Oh well, I'll fix it. It'll work out.
I really didn't even think about that, but yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I hit the wrong thing. Y'all, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this live stream. Have a happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Eat all of the good stuff that you can. We'll be back week after next to chat and drink beers with you again. We definitely hope that you will join us. Tell a friend to come hang out with us too. We'd appreciate that. Cheers, y'all.